Terence "Bud" Crawford, didn't hold back when Floyd Mayweather suggested he could beat him. With calm confidence, Crawford declared that not only would he defeat Floyd, but he would also do it even if Mayweather was in his absolute prime. He reminded the world that throughout his career he has never avoided danger, never chosen the easy path, and never ducked a single challenge. Every opponent who stepped forward was met head-on. And Crawford made it clear that if a clash with Floyd ever became possible, he would embrace it without hesitation. To him, legacy is not built on words, but on facing every mountain placed in front of him.
Then he started going like this. And then that's when Floyd started taking over.
What do you want your legacy to be like when your career's all said and done? What do you want people to remember you for?
Oh, man. Everybody's asking me the question. I always be like, man, it's whatever it's their opinion. Everybody gonna have a different opinion of Terence Crawford, but one thing they can't say is that I ducked anyone. I fought everyone that was available to fight.
Respected boxing voice Dan Raphael believes Crawford has reached the rare point in a fighter's journey where nothing more needs to be proven. He explained that Crawford has already cleaned out divisions, unified championships, and dominated world-class opponents without once showing a weakness. In Raphael's eyes, Crawford's place in history is already secure. And any fight from this point forward is not about validation, but about preservation. His achievements have exceeded what most experts ever imagined. And now the responsibility is not to chase unnecessary battles, but to enjoy the honor of being recognized as one. Of the greats of this era,
what does a Terence Crawford do now? Like, what's the next thing that he does? Because you look around and go, is the only way that he really gets that, maybe that ultimate chance, if he goes up again? And do you say, what do you do?
I don't quit. Yeah, I mean, he was asked those questions at the press conference. He made two things clear. One, he's not going back to 154, and I say that because some people suggested about possibly pursuing a fight with Ennis, who has his debut in the weight class coming up.
Yeah.
That's probably unlikely. He's not going to go back down in weight. And I mean, no disrespect to Ennis, but Ennis is a guy that's known within the diehards of boxing. He's not in any way known beyond the boundaries of the hardcore boxing fans. So yeah. I don't know if that makes sense for a lot of different reasons for him. Not to say I wouldn't, as a boxing fan, enjoy watching the fight. So, yeah. But I don't think he's going back to 154. He was asked about like a Benavides at 175, and he acknowledged like that guy's really big. I mean, that's maybe a bridge too far. He already went up to 2 weight classes to fight Canelo at 68. So it feels to me like he can either stay at 168 and defend this championship and look to the same types of names that were being thrown around as the types of guys that would have been in the mix for Canelo had he won the fight. And, he's going to have mandatories. Obviously, that's the first thing they'll have to look at. I mean, I don't know if he's not going to necessarily keep the belts if he's forced into a mandatory. He doesn't need the belts at this point, but there might be something appealing to him. For example, and Billy had a great fight on the undercard, although he's been ordered to fight a rematch in that fight. Mm-hmm. That was, fight of the year against Lester Martinez, candidate for fight of the year.
Win. Crawford dismantled Canelo Alvarez with absolute authority. The boxing world immediately drew comparisons with Floyd Mayweather's earlier win over the Mexican superstar. Floyd defeated a younger, less experienced Canelo, while Crawford dominated a seasoned and battle-tested version, sparking debates about who achieved the more significant victory. Some argue Crawford's performance was far more destructive, yet analyst Luke Thomas reminded fans that timing shapes legacy. Floyd had already reached global superstardom at a young age, fighting elite opponents long before Crawford ever received the spotlight. For that reason, Thomas believes that even though Crawford's win was extraordinary, the different career timelines must be respected when measuring greatness between the two.
This was a masterclass. One guy with outrageous skill offensively and defensively, simply making another very good fighter look lesser than. This was the other part. The people who watch MMA and then try to watch boxing through an MMA lens, I don't know what to tell you. You're actually missing the point. The kind of specific details and the depth of the technical ability far surpasses even what you can get at the highest level of MMA because they don't have that level of skill. There is no equivalent in MMA to to Bud Crawford, because there cannot be. Bud is the most talented boxer I've seen since Mayweather.
I think Crawford is way better than Floyd Mayweather.
To be fair to Floyd, he obviously had hand problems in his whole welterweight run, and it's why he took that long stretch off in 2007, 2008, 2009 area, and Floyd's brilliance to be able to be just as great in some ways at that age. We're not here trying to dunk on Floyd. When you get a victory like this, right now, straight up, Luke, you could say that there's not a welterweight, junior middleweight, or maybe even super middleweight. When you could say over like a 4-division stretch, Bud, cut down to any of these weights, that there's not another guy in the world that can beat you right now, that's Mayweather level. Head to head at their welterweight primes, Bud versus Floyd, I feel like a lot of us might actually be picking Bud right now. But what he achieved, I cannot put him above Mayweather or Pacquiao because he got these opportunities so late.
That's the problem with Bud's career, right? It bloomed kind of late. I find Bud to be as defensively sound as I've ever seen a fighter. He can find you. There's nowhere to hide with him.
Like Floyd, he has such control over the terms in there. It's just insane.
Legendary trainer Buddy McGirt was one of the first to praise Crawford after the Canelo fight. Describing the performance as absolute domination, he said Crawford controlled every second of the contest, never giving Canelo the chance to set the pace or apply his trademark pressure. According to McGirt, the difference in skill was so wide that there is no reason to even consider a rematch. The result was crystal clear. More importantly, McGirt stressed that Crawford finally earned the signature win he had been chasing for years. The kind of victory that stamps greatness permanently into boxing history. In his view, Crawford has nothing left to prove. His legacy has been written in bold letters.
Yes.
Like, what fight were they watching?
Right.
I mean, it's. I don't know, man. I don't know what some of these guys be doing in this game, man. Some people, in situations like that, they should ask them, listen, just turn in your license, bro. Because there's no way in hell the fight was that close.
Right.
I mean, come on, man. It's just, it's not fair. It's not fair. You get a guy like Terence got here and dominate from beginning to end, and then you find out he needed the last 2 rounds to win. That's scary, man.
It is. And you see how you just mentioned scary. Now, a lot of people are saying, buddy, that type of beating, nah, he's not gonna want a rematch. But looking at those gold cards and knowing that, hey, you wasn't too far behind, even though, he did mention that, he's better than Mayweather. But I mean, what's your thoughts? Do you feel like that was such a beating that Canelo wouldn't want a rematch?
No, I think that, in all honesty, personally, I think that Canelo's at that stage in his career right now, that it's a rematch he don't need. He don't need it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? What we saw that night, that's the stage Canelo's at right now. I mean, he's fought everybody, he's did everything, but you know what I mean? He passed the torch to the right guy.
Mm.
You know what I mean? He passed the torch to the right guy. You know what I mean? He lost it to Terence fair and square, and he passed the torch. So if you're gonna have another fight, cool, but you don't need to. You have nothing. He has nothing to prove. He fought Terence and nobody else would.
When analysts weigh Crawford against Floyd Mayweather, many highlight the one intangible that separated Floyd from everyone else: his mastery of the mental game. Crawford is praised for being a technical genius capable of switching stances seamlessly, adjusting mid-fight and dismantling elite fighters with precision. Yet Floyd brought an additional weapon, an aura of psychological control that broke opponents before the opening bell. He forced rivals to doubt themselves, abandon their strategies, and fight on his terms. This invisible battlefield is what historians believe still keeps Floyd ahead, even as Crawford's accomplishments close the gap. The comparison shows how close Crawford is to sharing Floyd's throne, yet also how Floyd's mind games remain unmatched.
Hagler, Hearns. I've seen Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler. Like, I've seen all of those things, and those fights were wars. Floyd Mayweather is the best boxer I've ever seen. He's the most skilled boxer I've ever seen. Bud, and this is just my opinion, is the baddest man I've seen wear boxing gloves. And here is why I say that. RC. Here's why I say that. Bud is extremely skilled, right? Yet not as skilled as Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather made people look foolish, right? And so if I had to say who's the greatest I've seen, and Bud said it right, the best of an era and the best of an era, it's Floyd. But when I watched Bud against Canelo, there was this extreme skill on display, and there was a level of crazy that's different. There was a level of, and Floyd's extremely tough. Go back to Shane Mosley and the 2 punches he landed early in the fight and the way that he embarrassed him. I'm not saying that Floyd's not tough, Floyd's not a bad man, but there was domination inside that ring we saw this weekend. And there's no fear in him in the way that he's attacked gaining notoriety. Bud's been the baddest man for 12 years, but no one gave him credit because he didn't go tell you he was the baddest man. He didn't market that. He just went out and fought and beat people and knocked people out. So he had to move up and take the bigger fights and the better fights, and he was Errol Spence.
For more than a decade, Crawford displayed brilliance inside the ring, but his low-key personality kept him hidden in the shadows. While other fighters shouted, bragged, and built hype, Crawford chose to let his fists tell the story. This silent confidence earned him respect from boxing purists, but robbed him of the mainstream attention that flashier fighters enjoyed. Only in recent years, after beating names like Errol Spence Jr. and Canelo Alvarez, has the broader world begun to recognize his greatness. Still, some critics argue that this acknowledgement came too late. Crawford is now deeper into his career, with fewer years left to shape his mainstream legacy. Many wonder how differently history would look had he been given the spotlight earlier.
How great he was. Canelo cemented him on what is the two-headed monster that marks the greatest of the 2000s. Floyd Mayweather is on that, and Bud Crawford is right next to him. I don't think we have to pick on who's better. I think they both dominated their eras equally.
Floyd Mayweather has always guarded his status as the pinnacle of boxing excellence, often refusing to acknowledge even Muhammad Ali as greater. Now, as Crawford rises to legendary status with victories like his destruction of Canelo, boxing fans are daring to mention his name alongside Floyd's. For a man so protective of his throne, this comparison feels like a direct challenge. Critics suggest Floyd struggles with the idea of anyone sharing his stage, and Crawford's ascent has forced him to confront that reality. To some, it seems Floyd's pride will never allow him to admit another fighter belongs beside him in history. But whether he accepts it or not, Crawford's dominance has already carved him into the same conversation.
Puts him on par with Floyd Mayweather Jr., and you know Floyd Mayweather Jr. doesn't like that. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is one of the biggest egos in the sport, so much so that he could not find a way to give Muhammad Ali credit as being a top 5 fighter and claimed that Roberto Duran sits above Muhammad Ali, right? Why? Because Floyd wants to be better than Muhammad Ali. He completely redid his image when he became Money Mayweather to pretty much copy from calling himself the GOAT, calling himself TBE, right? Whole thing. Very disrespectful of Muhammad Ali when he was coming up, when after Floyd Mayweather Jr. wound up being at the top of the sport. So now that Terence Crawford has firmly placed himself at the top of boxing, and not just as the pound for pound fighter right now, many people are saying, hey, shouldn't he be considered one of the greatest fighters of all time? Isn't this a realistic conversation we can have? So what does that do? That butts Terence Crawford right up against Floyd Mayweather. So when Floyd was asked a series of questions, right? Because Floyd has a fight coming up. I do believe it maybe in January. I think it may be in January or early 2026, I believe is the time frame, where Floyd Mayweather Jr. is going to be fighting Mike Tyson in I believe this is going to be an exhibition